Hope you all studied the previous portion and completed your notes. Let's recall the previous class main points. The first one is, what is the difference between unicellular and multicellular organisms? Second one is, various shapes of cells that is present in our body, that is in human body. Third one is, structure and function of plasma membrane. And the fourth main point is the transportation of carbon dioxide and oxygen through this plasma membrane by a process called diffusion. Today, again we are going to study about the transportation of another molecule, that is water. How this water molecule is transporting through this plasma membrane and what is that process. That is, we are going to study today. The movement of water molecule occur through this plasma membrane. There is a process called osmosis. So, through osmosis, water molecules pass through the semi-permeable membrane. Then what is osmosis? That is our question. The movement of water molecules from a region of its higher concentration to the region of its lower concentration through a semi-permeable membrane, that is known as osmosis. Then once again, what is osmosis? The movement of water molecules from a region of higher concentration to the region of its lower concentration through a semi-permeable membrane, that is known as osmosis. If water molecule is more in one region, then that water molecule will pass from that region to the region where its concentration is low. Then there are two types of osmosis, endosmosis and exosmosis. Then what is endosmosis? That is the osmotic entry of water into the cell. That means if water molecule is entering into the cell, then that osmosis is called endosmosis. What is osmosis? The movement of water molecules from a region of its higher concentration to the region of its lower concentration through semi-permeable membrane, that is called osmosis. You know that plasma membrane is a semi-permeable membrane or selectively permeable membrane. So, if the water concentration is more in one region and the water concentration is lower in another region, then water molecules will move from a region of higher concentration to a region of lower concentration through semi-permeable membrane. That is important. If it is passing through a semi-permeable membrane, then only it is called as osmosis. Understood? Then next is types of osmosis. There are two types of osmosis, endosmosis and exosmosis. Endosmosis means it is the osmotic entry of water into the cell. That is, through osmosis, if the water molecules enter inside the cell, that is into the cell, then it is called endosmosis. And if the water molecules that enter into the cell, then it is called endosmosis. If the water molecules withdraw from the cell, that is called exosmosis. So once again, exosmosis is the osmotic withdrawal of water from a cell. If water molecules withdraw from a cell, then it is called exosmosis. If water molecules enter into the cell, then it is called endosmosis. So that's about osmosis. Once again, what is osmosis? Types of osmosis, endosmosis and exosmosis. Here, an example for endosmosis and exosmosis. So for that, we needed two equal sized raw eggs. And if we place it in dilute hydrochloric acid for an hour, the shells, which is made up of calcium carbonate, get dissolved. Here this diagram shows dissolved or deshelled eggs. Then wash the two eggs with the water 2-3 times. Wash these two eggs with the water 2-3 times. Then each egg is now surrounded by a semi-permeable membrane. Then place one egg in water and other egg in a concentrated salt solution. Place one egg in water and another egg in a concentrated salt solution. Observe after 15 to 30 minutes. what will happen? The egg placed in water swells up. Why this egg becomes swells up? Because water enter inside this egg. That is called endosmosis. Because of endosmosis, this egg swells up. Then this egg is placed in a salt solution. We can see that this egg is shrink due to exosmosis. So the second one, the second diagram, that egg shows shrink because of the exosmosis. Another examples for endosmosis and exosmosis is, that is, put dry raisins or apricots in a petri dish having plain water. Observe after about 30 minutes. Then raisins or apricots swells up due to what? Due to endosmosis. If we put dry raisins in water, then we can see that because of endosmosis that raisins become swollen. Here you can see the swollen raisins. Then if we put the swollen raisins in a concentrated salt solution or sugar solution, and after 15 to 30 minutes you have to observe the raisins will shrink. So why that raisins will shrink? Due to exosmosis. So if we put dry raisins in water, then it shows endosmosis. If we put that swollen raisins in concentrated sugar solution or salt solution, it shows exosmosis. Osmotic solutions. So first of all, what is osmotic solution? Osmotic solutions are those solutions which can cause osmosis. So what is osmosis? We already learned. So that osmosis causing which solution? That cause osmosis. Such solutions are called osmotic solutions. These osmotic solutions are of three types. So which are the types of osmotic solutions? First one is hypotonic solution, second one is hypertonic solution, and the third one is isotonic solution. Let us study about hypotonic solution, isotonic solution and hypertonic solution. First one is about hypotonic solution. Here you can see the medium surrounding the cell. This one is the cell, here is the cell, here is also cell. Surrounding this cell, mediums are there. Okay, based on that, we are telling about the solutions. If the medium surrounding the cell, so this one is the cell and this one is the medium. If the medium surrounding the cell has higher water concentration, that is the number of water molecules are more here than the cell, then that solution is known as hypotonic solution. So here the outside solution contains more water molecules, then the cell will gain water. You studied as osmosis is what? Water molecules will move from higher concentration to lower concentration. Here is the water molecule is more than the cell. So the water molecule will move from the medium towards the cell. So the cell gain water, so that what will happen? The cell become swells up. Swells up. So that is the thing. If an animal cell or a plant cell, it is placed inside a hypotonic solution, then that cell will gain water and swells up. And what is hypotonic solution? If the medium outside the cell has higher water concentration than the cell, then that cell will gain water by osmosis. Such a solution is known as hypotonic solution. If we put a plant cell or animal cell in hypotonic solution, what will happen? The cell is likely to swells up. Why that cell is swells up? Because the water enters the cell, that is from the external medium, water enters the cell. So the cell become swells up. If the cell and the medium, here also you can see the medium and the cell. If the medium surrounding the cell has exactly the same concentration of water molecule than that of the cell, then there is no net movement of water molecules. That is, here outside the cell and also inside the cell, there is no net movement of water molecules across the cell membrane. Such a solution is called isotonic solution. That is, the concentration of water molecules outside the medium and also outside the cell and also inside the cell, same concentration. So there is no movement of water molecules both in and out. So what is the size of the cell? So the size of the cell exactly the same size. Exactly the same size. Size of the cell is same. There is no swells up or no shrinkage. The size of the cell is same. That is isotonic solution. Once again, what is isotonic solution? If the medium has exactly the same water concentration as the cell. Medium has the same water concentration as the cell. There will be no net movement of water across the cell membrane. Such a solution is known as isotonic solution. And if we put an animal cell or a plant cell in an isotonic solution, what will happen? The cell will stay the same size. Why the cell become the same size? Because the amount of water molecules going inside and also amount of water molecule going outside, that is, there is no overall movement, so that the cell become exactly the same size. Now here hypertonic solution. If the medium has a lower concentration of water than the cell. Here is the medium. That medium consists of only less amount of water molecule than the cell, meaning that it is very concentrated solution. This medium is a concentrated solution. Then the cell will lose water by osmosis. The cell will lose water. Cell will lose water by osmosis. And this solution is known as hypertonic solution. If we put a plant cell or animal cell in a hypertonic solution, what will happen? Because inside the cell there is more number of water molecule than the outside, then the cell will shrink. So the cell, what is the size of the cell? The cell will shrink. Okay. So once again, what is hypertonic solution? If the medium has a lower concentration of water than the cell, then meaning that it is very concentrated solution, then the cell loses water by osmosis. Such a solution is known as hypertonic solution. And what will happen to the cell? If we put a plant cell or animal cell in a hypertonic solution, the cell will shrink. Why that cell shrink? Because more water leaves from the cell than it enters, so that cell shrink. So that's about hypotonic, isotonic and hypertonic solution. What will happen if we put an animal cell or a plant cell into a solution of sugar or salt in water? That is an important question. So that this one is the answer. What is that solution and what will happen to that cell? Once again, I am telling hypotonic, isotonic and hypertonic solution. Once again, hypotonic solution, that is if the medium surrounding the cell has a higher water concentration than that of the cell, then it is called hypotonic solution. Then what happened to the cell? If we place a plant cell or animal cell inside the hypotonic solution, then that cell becomes swells up due to endosmosis. Then what is isotonic solution? If the medium has exactly the same water concentration as the cell, that is both inside the cell and in the medium both water concentration is same, then that type of solution is called isotonic solution. And what will happen if we put a plant cell or animal cell inside that isotonic solution? Then there is no net movement of water molecule, so that the size of the cell becomes same. Then what is hypertonic solution? If the medium has a lower concentration of water molecule than that of the cell, then that type of solution is called hypertonic solution. And what will happen if we put an animal cell or a plant cell inside that hypertonic solution? then the cell will lose its water molecule by exosmosis, so the cell will shrink. Next is importance of osmosis. So what is the use of this osmosis for plants and animals? The first one is root absorption. Root absorption. That is, root absorb water from soil through the process of osmosis. So you know that water, plants are getting water from where? From soil. So root absorb water from soil through osmosis. Water from soil by osmosis. That is the first one. Then many unicellular freshwater organisms. Many unicellular freshwater organisms and most plant cells also gain water by osmosis. And plant cells gain water by osmosis. That is the second importance. So unicellular freshwater organisms and like amoeba and plant cells, they gain water by osmosis. And another one is cell to cell water movement. Cell to cell water movement, that also occur by a process called osmosis. Cell to cell water movement. That is from one cell to, suppose this one is one cell to another cell. One cell to another cell, that movement of water molecules also occur by which process? Osmosis. So these are the importance of osmosis. Once again, root absorption, that is, root absorb water molecules from soil by a process called osmosis. Then unicellular, many of the unicellular freshwater organisms and plant cells are gain water by osmosis, and cell to cell water molecules are moved by the process called osmosis. Then some molecules, for the movement of some molecules both in and out of the cell, that require energy, then that type of transportation is known as active transport. You know that molecules, cells are, suppose this one is a cell, some molecules will move out, some molecules move in. For the movement of these molecules, some molecules need energy, then that transport is called active transport. Active transport. But some of molecules, there is no need of any energy. If no energy is required, then that movement is called passive transport. So once again, the movement of molecules that from inside the cell or from outside to inside the cell, then that molecules, they need both in and out of the movement. Some molecules require energy for that transportation. If energy is needed, then that transport is called active transport. If there is no need of energy for the movement of molecules, then that transport is called a passive transport. Next topic is cell wall. So in plant cells, fungi and prokaryotes, examples for prokaryotes, bacteria, they possess an additional covering called cell wall. There is plasma membrane, but the cell wall lies outside the plasma membrane. So in addition to the plasma membrane, there is an outer covering for these organisms, that is the cell wall. And in plant cells, the cell wall is made up of cellulose. What is that? Cellulose. That cellulose is a complex substance and that provides structural strength to plants. So what is cellulose? It is a complex substance. You know that it is a complex sugar. That complex substance, and it provides structural strength to plants. Then living plants show another feature called plasmolysis. Then what is plasmolysis? So living plant cells show another feature called, only living plant cells that show another feature called plasmolysis or plasmolysis. Anyhow, plasmolysis. Then what is that plasmolysis? Who will show this plasmolysis? Only plant cells. Only plant cells show this plasmolysis. Then what is plasmolysis? When a living plant cell loses water through osmosis. You know that. Suppose this one is a cell. It consists of what? A plant cell contains a large vacuole. Then there is a nucleus, isn't it? Then plasma membrane. In addition to the plasma membrane, there is a cell wall. Like this, isn't it? So this one is a vacuole. Then nucleus. And then plasma membrane. Plasma membrane. And this one is the cell wall. Then when a living plant cell that loses water through osmosis, there is shrinkage of this or the contraction of the contents of the cell away from the cell wall. So which are the contents here? Here contents are the plasma membrane, this nucleus, the cytoplasm, then this vacuole. All these contents of the cytoplasm that will shrink away from the cell wall. Now the cell become like this. Now the cell become, that is all the contents shrink away from the cell wall. Now here is the plasma membrane, here is the vacuole, and here is the nucleus. Like this. Here is the plasma membrane. And here is the vacuole. And here is the nucleus. So all the contents that move away from the cell wall and move towards one side of the periphery of the cell wall. So here you can see plasma membrane is here, vacuole is there, nucleus is here, cytoplasm is here. So all these contents move away from the cell wall and form like this. And this feature is called the plasmolysis. That plasmolysis where we can see only in plant cell, and that plasmolysis occur because of what? Because of osmosis. So the living plant cell loses water through osmosis. There is a shrinkage of all the contents of the cell then away from the cell wall. So this phenomenon is known as plasmolysis. So next is about functions of cell wall. First one is it provides shape. It provides shape to the plant cell. Then second one is strength. So we already learned that it provides mechanical strength to the plant cell. Then protection. How to protect the plant cell? It protects the cell against pathogens and from mechanical injury. And another one is limited endosmosis. So what is that? Endosmosis, you know, that is water enter inside the cell, then the protoplasm will swells up. That is, the cell becomes swells up. As the water enters living cell, their protoplasm swells up and build a pressure against the cell wall. The cell wall exert an equal and opposite pressure against the swelling protoplasm. As a result, after some endosmosis, then further entry of water into the cell is stopped. Thus it helps the cell from bursting. So that is limited endosmosis, another function. So thus the cell wall prevent the cell from bursting. But in animal cell, there is no cell wall, so there stands for what? Bursting of the cell. But here it limit that end osmosis process, so there is no bursting in plant cell wall. Another one is environmental variations. Environmental variations. So this, because of the cell wall, plant cell can withstand a lot of variations in the surrounding medium as compared to the animal cell. So these are the functions of cell wall. It provides shape, it gives structural strength, protect against pathogens and from mechanical injury, and it limits that endosmosis process. With environmental variations, the cell can withstand a lot of variations that happen the surrounding medium. So these are the functions of cell wall. Out of the functions, this limited endosmosis is very important because this cell wall prevent what? Prevent bursting of cell. That prevent bursting of cell on endosmosis. That prevent bursting of cell on endosmosis. How this happened? As water enters living cell. You know that suppose this one is a cell, and when water molecule enter into the cell, you know that inside the cell there is a large vacuole plant cell, so that there is a large vacuole, and here is a nucleus. Then here is the plasma membrane. Here is the plasma membrane. So these, as the water molecule enter inside the cell, then again these exert a pressure against the cell wall. So that exert a pressure against the cell wall, like this. It exert a pressure against the cell wall. At the same time, this cell wall also provide, or the cell wall also exert an equal pressure against the protoplasm. Equal pressure against the protoplasm. So, as water enters the living cell, that exerts a pressure because that protoplasm swells up, and that exerts a pressure against the cell wall. And that cell wall exerts an equal and opposite pressure against the swelling protoplasm. And that pressure is known as Turgor pressure. Turgor pressure. So what is Turgor pressure? When the water molecule enter inside the living cell, their protoplasm swells up and builds a pressure against the cell wall. The cell wall exerts an equal and opposite pressure against the swelling protoplasm, and that pressure is the Turgor pressure. And as a result, after some endosmosis, further entry of water into cell is stopped, so that help in the cell from bursting. So thus it protects the cell from bursting. So that is limited endosmosis.